mission. Okay. So Videsh is founded by three co-founders, Dr. Raj, Dr. Rajat, and Dr. Sridhar. So these are, award-winning graduates from IIT Madras and researchers, PhD researchers from Massachusetts Institute of Technology and the Purdue University in the US. Okay, so at the time of their application and when they were applying to their graduate schools, they were not really aware of the importance of a research profile. Okay, and research is very much underrated, and the importance of research profile is humongous. It elevates your profile to a great extent. Okay, so with that aim, with that realization in their minds, they came back to India and founded Videsh with the sole aim of helping students and working professionals to land their dream universities. Okay, and the main focus of Videsh is on building your research profile. Okay, so today's agenda is going to be somewhat like this. Like I said, I'm going to be talking about Dr. Raj's story of how he transitioned into ML. I'm going to be talking about some of the problems with the traditional ML courses that are being offered online. Okay, and then I'm going to be taking you through how to write research papers in ML. Okay, and then some tips and tricks on how to convert your projects into papers, and like I said, research paper basics, and something about Videsh Scientific ML Bootcamp details. Okay, so this is going to be the overall flow of the webinar. Okay, so let me get started with our co-founder story, Dr. Raj. Dr. Raj is a mechanical engineer from IIT Madras, and when he applied for MIT, he applied for a PhD in mechanical engineering. Okay, so at that time, he was totally focused on attaining a PhD in mechanical engineering. Okay, and that is with he applied to MIT with the same aim. He got a fully funded scholarship, and then he went to MIT. Okay, and after he went there, during his first or second year, he happened to attend one of those career fairs. And when he was attending that career fair, he got to know that the job opportunities in machine learning were humongous. They were very, very high as compared to job opportunities in the core branches. Okay, and this was like 2019. Okay, so like 6 years back. So this was a very, very new field at that time, and there were a lot of job opportunities. Companies with jobs in ML were coming to campuses and asking for students who knew machine learning. Okay, it was a very, very new concept back then, and that was the time when he realized that the jobs in the core field are limited. Okay, they are comparatively lesser as compared to machine learning. So that is when he realized that machine learning is a very, very fast emerging field, and he was drawn towards it. Okay, so it happened somehow that he collided with a research group from MIT. He talked to the professors, he talked to his peers, and the rest is history. Okay, he graduated from MIT with a PhD in ML. Okay, and during the course of his time, he published a lot of papers using scientific ML. He published a lot of papers in relevant topics. I'm going to show you snapshots of the papers that he published. So this is a live case in front of us. How Dr. Raj transitioned from mechanical engineer to a ML engineer. He got his PhD in machine learning. Okay, so these are some of the snapshots of the paper that he published when at MIT. So as you can see that this was during COVID. These papers were written during COVID, and they were very, very impactful at that point of time. Okay, COVID came in 2020, and he chose to use machine learning and address impactful topics like COVID at that time. And his papers got published in very, very good journals, and he wrote a lot of papers. If you can see, these papers also he wrote, and the report that you can see on the right is the work that they were doing for the US government. Okay, so machine learning is a very, very interesting field, a very novel field, and if you choose to write research papers combining it with a relevant topic, it adds a huge, huge difference. Okay, these are some of the snapshots of the papers that Dr. Raj published. And like I said, he published papers with over 400+ plus citations. Now, what does this go to show? Why am I demonstrating this case study? This is because this is for you to understand that it doesn't matter which profession you are in. If you want to switch to ML, if you want to make a transition to ML, you can do that. Okay, it's just the matter of right guidance. It's just a matter of getting good research experience. Do you see what Dr. Raj did? He wrote research papers. He added that research experience to his profile, and that is what made him stand apart. Okay, so it's not just he didn't do any online course available. He actually worked with ML. Okay, he published research papers in ML, and that is the point. What I'm trying to put here, that you should think of transitioning to ML by strengthening your research profile, by researching, by working on your research papers. Okay. So, like I said, he did not have any formal background in computer science. He was not a CS engineer. He did not take DS courses, algorithm courses in his undergrad studies. He was a core mechanical engineer. Okay, and that is what is I think it's very important for you to know that it doesn't matter which field you're in. You still can transition to the field of machine learning only if you build your research profile, because adding just an online course to your resume or your profile is not enough. It's important to actually do research work. Okay, so how was this possible for a mechanical engineer? Like I said, he even ended up getting job offers from reputed companies like Facebook, Amazon, Julia Computing after he defended his thesis. But then life had other plans for him. He wanted to start something that would help students and working professionals like yourselves, and he wanted to be that mentor who would guide students to transition to ML. But then, so my point is that he was a mechanical engineer, but he got job opportunities from such amazing firms and with very, very high packages. Okay, so this is something that Dr. Raj achieved in spite of being a mechanical engineer, and he achieved that in the field of machine learning. So what did he realize during his journey to machine learning? He realized very, very important things, that the way machine learning is taught is not correct. Okay, for someone who wants to transition to the field of machine learning, may it be for a graduate application or for a job opportunity, it's not taught in the right way. Okay, because if you look at online courses, I'm just going to show you an example in my later slides. It's not correctly taught, right? And we are also going to be sharing a form right now with you, and the basis of that form is just to understand which fields you are in. Okay, it is for us to understand that which fields you are coming from and how you should transition to the field of machine learning. Okay, I will come back to that form in my later slides, and we are sharing the form in the chat right now. So fill that form. It's just requires you to fill in 2-3 questions related to your field of study. So the main important point of today's webinar is transitioning to ML from whichever your field of study you are from. Okay, so the way traditional ML is taught is not right. Obviously, I'll demonstrate that in my later slides. And the next thing, like I said, is any student with any field can transition to ML. But then, of course, not by just doing an online course, by adding research work to their resume or their profile. Okay, and then, like I said, there should be a lot more emphasis on research. Okay, because research paper is something students are actually putting work in. Students are actually knowing the basics of machine learning when they are writing a research paper. Okay, so whenever they are being interviewed by whether it's like a job interview or whether it's a decision by the admissions committee, the interviewer knows, okay, that you know machine learning. He knows or she knows that you've not just done any course, but you actually know what ML means because you have written that research paper. Okay, so that is the difference, right? And then I'll just walk you through some of the problems with traditional ML courses. Okay, so actually this is a course designed by MIT. Now this is a free course available to everybody. You can view it. It's available on the MIT website also. So as you can see, this is an online course, free, available to all. And they are starting with linear algebra, probability, then they are going to machine learning, linear classifiers, and then they are moving on to generalization, non-linear classification, etc. But then the problem is that the theory part is fine, okay? As long as it is the theory part, it's fine. You can do that. But the problem is with the projects, okay? So the projects, as you can see, the project 1 is an automatic review analyzer. Project 2 is a digit recognition, right? Project 3 is also digit recognition. Project 4 is collaborative filtering, and project 5 is a text-based game. Okay, so now you can see that when I actually dig deeper into what these projects are, you can actually see that the review analyzer is giving me top rated movies. It's not relevant to any field of study. Okay, it's not relevant to any field that you're studying from. And if you add these projects to your resume or your profile, they are not going to create any impact. Okay, these are just toy projects and everybody is doing them. Okay, even digit recognition, collaborative filtering, sentiment analysis, game. So this is in no way related to any field that you are from. Okay, none of your domains, I'm sure, collaborate with these projects, right? So they are not relevant, and projects are a very, very important part of learning machine learning. Okay, because it's not just the theory, you also have to understand how to do it hands on, right? It's not just you can add any toy projects to your resume and that's not going to give you any kind of recognition, right? So now this is the problem with the traditional courses, that they are not related to any field, right? So what happens is, like I said, these projects don't show how actually you are combining the knowledge of machine learning, the theory part that you learned, with your domain knowledge. Okay, how you are forming that intersection. These projects are not showing that in any way. These projects are completely unrelated to whichever field of study you are in, right? And then, like I said, publishing research papers using these toy projects is just a waste of time. Okay, it's not going to add any weightage to your profile. You need serious projects that intersect your domain knowledge with machine learning, and that is how you should write a research paper in machine learning. Okay, you should use your domain knowledge because that is going to elevate your profile. Using these projects is not going to help your profile, right? So like I said, moving forward, like I said, doing impactful projects like COVID-19 quarantine strength and COVID spread parameter evolution. So this is very, very impactful, and Dr. Raj did this using machine learning. So imagine, at that time it was very, very impactful. It got published, it had very, very high number of citations also. Okay, so this is something that you should focus on. You should focus on real, serious research projects. Okay, now like I said, how to recover a chemical reaction from data alone. So a chemical engineer would probably consider writing a research paper related to this problem, okay, using machine learning. So what they can do is they can integrate their knowledge of chemical engineering with machine learning and write a research paper around this topic. Okay, that is going to give a much higher weightage to that profile. For example, for a physicist, a project title like using machine learning to predict black hole analysis can be a very, very relevant project. And then for economists, let's say using ML to predict economic market like supply and demand. So this can be a very, very impactful project if you are an economist. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to say. You have to combine your domain knowledge. You have to select the topic of your research paper in such a way that it combines your area of interest as well and what you have done your undergrad in with machine learning. Okay, so that will help you to have a successful transition to the field of machine learning. Okay, whether it be your resume or whether it be your profile for grad school applications. Okay, so for biochemistry, so for biologists, maybe you can write a research paper around the topic using ML for biochemistry, right? And then for climate problems, you can use ML to analyze fluid mechanics. So these are examples, and by these examples, I just want to demonstrate that select such topics for writing research papers which are very, very relevant to your field, which are close to your field, but they are also using machine learning, right? So if you learn to do these projects on your own, what happens if you are actually working on these serious projects on your own? It will make sure that you have a very strong foundation in ML, and you will also know how to integrate machine learning in your field, in your domain. Okay. And then, of course, you can do independent research in your field of study and publish papers in top tier journals. So that is what Dr. Raj did, right? When he collaborated with his lab of machine learning, he collaborated with his peers, with his professor, and that resulted him those continuous collaborations, those hands-on projects led him to write independent research, first author research papers in the field of ML and his respective domain. Okay. And then, like I said, you can include all these projects on your CV. You can add these also to your CV. You can convert these projects into a research paper as well. Okay. So if you do a project that intersects your field of domain and machine learning, a small project can be converted into a full-fledged research paper. Okay. With novel results also. So that is something that Dr. Raj did, and that is why I'm demonstrating a few examples of papers which have been written in different domains but are intersecting with machine learning as well. So like I said, if you learn to do these projects on your own, you will be able to work on literature review. You will know all the depths of machine learning. You will be like I'm going to take you through, writing a research paper part. So you will understand what I'm talking about, basics of writing a research paper. And then you'll also be able to apply to companies with your domain plus machine learning knowledge. Okay. Because that is not something everybody does. Everybody has just added those toy projects that I showed before on their resume, but nobody takes them seriously. Everybody knows that these projects are available everywhere and everyone is adding those to their resume. Okay. So if you do these serious projects and if you add them to your resume, it's going to create a very, very high impact. Okay. And then, like I said, Videsh is also helping you to select topics for your research paper in such a way that they are, very, very close to your field of domain, right? So if you are, a mechanical engineer, if you are a chemical engineer, we are selecting topics for you in such a way that they are very close to mechanical or chemical engineering. Okay. And then, like I said, you can also reach out to professors in the SciML domain to secure projects. Now, if you're applying to graduate schools for your either PhD or masters, and if you have already published the first author research paper in ML, you can even reach out to the professors who are working in the field of ML. You can give them a reference of the research paper that you've written, and that is what is going to spike the interest of the professor. Okay, that this student is has a very, very good hands-on knowledge of machine learning. He or she has already published a first author research paper in the field of machine learning. Like I said, what all this leads to, it elevates your profile by 5 or 10 times, and professors actually end up recommending the admissions committee to admit that particular student. Okay, this happens quite a bit, and this happens only if you're able to create that kind of impression on the professor, right? So like I said, scientific machine learning can be, anybody can make transition to the field of machine learning, and the fields that I've just mentioned here are for your reference. But then now, let's go to the form that you must have filled. Now, if you see, we have 47 responses, and if you see, field of study, this is why I was asking you to fill this form, because I just wanted to see which are the domains that the participants of this webinar are attending. So we have students from mechanical, electrical, civil, CS, biological sciences, physics, ocean engineering, finance, aerospace, economics. So as you can see, a large plethora of students from so many different backgrounds. Okay, big data analyst, we have people from commerce, robotics, electronics, battery engineering. So people from, finance, people from all fields. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to say when I say that, anybody can transition to the field of ML, and anybody can add an ML experience into their profile by doing a research project, by writing a research paper. Now, if you see the next question, the kind of ML knowledge that the participant, as you can see, maximum students have either basic knowledge, intermediate knowledge, which is very good. Even if you are a complete beginner, it's okay, it's not a problem. You can still find a list of resources where you can get started from. The only thing required is patience, determination, and discipline. Okay, I'll take you through that in my later slides as well, of how you can get started with machine learning. Okay, and then comes the part of writing a research paper and doing a project. Okay, so this was my whole intention of circulating this form. Now, as you can see, we have mostly students in this group, and followed by working professionals. So like for both, it's very, very important to have that ML experience in your profile. For students who are applying to graduate schools for their MS or PhD, it's very important for them as well. And it's also important for working professionals who are either looking for a better job opportunities by adding an ML experience to their resume, or who are looking to transition into the field of academics from their working background. Okay, so for everybody, I think writing these research papers is of paramount importance if you want to add an ML experience to your profile. Okay, let's get back to the presentation. So like I said, I might have missed to add a few of these, fields that we are seeing in the group today. So as you can see, we have a very, very, very high variety of students, and it's very good to know that students from all fields are interested to add an ML experience to their profile for either making a transition or for, having better opportunities. Okay. So, like I said, now I will just show you the list of resources to transition to ML. Now, if you are a beginner, if you don't know the basics, I am just going to show you the list of resources. Now, these resources are very, very meticulously curated by our three co-founders, Dr. Raj, Dr. Rajat, and Dr. Sridhar. So they have made playlist, and actually they have, when you click on the Visuara ML Tech Teach by Doing, you come to this playlist. So this, you should start by listening to this playlist. Okay, and then followed by building neural networks, and then building decision trees. Okay, so this should be your flow of study if you are a complete beginner. Now, what I mean to say, when you need to have determination and a lot of discipline and a lot of, desire, the fire in your, belly to learn. Okay. So if you see, this first lecture has 165K views, right? And look at the difference of views between the first and the second lecture, 23 views and 165K views. So what does this show? What is this showing you? That many students are, leaving the lectures after attending first lecture. You shouldn't do that. That is why I am emphasizing on this fact that if you want to transition successfully, it's very important that you listen to these playlists, and you study these playlists from scratch, and you listen to each and every lecture that is being played in the playlist. Please don't leave any lecture halfway, and dedicate a particular time slot in a day or a week. Even if you're working, if you're a student, you don't have time during the day or during the entire week, it's possible that you're completely occupied, but then at least take out some time during the weekends and listen to these lectures. They're very, very good, and our co-founders have meticulously designed them. They are for free. You can go on YouTube and you can listen to these lectures. Okay, all of these three series are very, very, I highly recommend them. They are extremely important if you are a complete beginner. Okay, and I'm also going to be sharing the links in the YouTube recording, also the description of the recording. So be rest assured, it's fine. You will get to know these links whenever you're looking at the the recording of the webinar. Okay, it's very important that you start. Okay, the start is very important, and finishing is also very important. So don't leave these series in between, and make sure that you complete this from start to end. Follow one discipline, follow one time schedule, and dedicate that time of the day to these lectures. Okay, so that is going to help have discipline also in your routine, right? Now we are going to the paper outline. So now we are moving, we have completed with the first part, that is transitioning to ML from any field. Now we know how you're supposed to transition. We know the pathways for transitioning also. So first, if you are a complete beginner, you should start with those lecture series that I just showed. And then if you have basic to intermediate knowledge, maybe you should start writing a research paper with selecting a topic that is close to your domain, and using machine learning. So that is how you should, that is how the flow should be. And now we are moving towards how do you write a research paper in the field of machine learning. Okay, we are going to start with part 5 now. First to 4 parts are just basics of the research paper. Okay, so considering that what is a research paper. A research paper is basically a paper that has different research outcomes. So that is a research paper. And I'm going to be starting with the outline now, because it is very important. Like I said, it is very important that you form the outline of your research paper. So what is an outline? Now your research paper consists of 12 parts. Okay, 12 parts from title to reference and acknowledgements. But then this can be very overwhelming at the start. If you have not started to write a research paper, then these 12 parts may be very, very overwhelming, right? So we will get started with a paper outline. A paper outline is nothing but a skeleton of your research paper. And it's very important that you form this paper outline. And what you do is you write this paper outline point wise. Okay, it's not important to write a full-blown essays of introductions and abstracts. It's important to note the points. Okay, we can later on convert it into a manuscript, right? Now, first of all, before getting started, there are templates to follow. Now, you can either follow the MS Word template, or you can even use Overleaf. Okay, so Overleaf is the software that we encourage our students at Videsh to use for writing the research paper. It gives a very professional feel to your research paper. Okay, so you can either write your research paper in MS Word or in Overleaf. Okay, so now getting started with the paper outline. So first is the title. What is a title? Title basically gives a complete insight into what a paper is going to be about in just 10 to 12 words. Okay, so if you are writing a research paper in the field of your domain and using machine learning, you have to very clearly mention that in the title, that you are using scientific machine learning and you are writing a research paper in your field of domain. Okay, it is very important that the title gives a very clear understanding of what your paper is going to be about. Okay, the next part is the abstract. Okay, abstract is a 200-word essay that you have to write. It basically is a summary of what your paper is going to be about. Okay, now for your ease of understanding, we have broken down the abstract into 4 parts. Okay, now as you can see, the first is the large scale problem. Okay, so what do you do first while writing the abstract? It can be a bit overwhelming that okay, what do I write in those 200 words? So you can divide the abstract into 4 parts. First is the large scale problem. Okay, so in this study, what you are doing is, you, for example, you can write, we apply 2 pillars of scientific ML learning. So this is something you can write. This is a large scale implication. Okay, the next is the specific challenge. Okay, what specific challenge you are facing, right? And this and the third part is specific merits and details of your approach. Okay, so how you are addressing this challenge, what metrics you are using to address this challenge, and your approach. So 2 and 3 points, as you can see, are applicable to the experts of that particular field. And the fourth and the first parts, the fourth part is the wider implication. So what is it implying? Okay, so you have to write the large scale implications also of those of that problem. Okay, so if I have to summarize the abstract, I will summarize it into an hourglass figure. Okay, so an hourglass, what does this mean now? So the first and fourth part of your abstract implies to a wider audience, and the second and third part is for the experts of that field, right? So this is how you have to divide your abstract into 4 parts, right? This is for your ease of understanding, and this is something that will help you remember, and this will help you remember not forgetting any point. Okay, like I said, it's very important to first write a pointed version of the abstract. Okay, so don't just focus on a 200-word essay. Okay, so don't look at the words when you're writing. Don't just mention a bullet pointed version of the abstract. At this point, don't look at the word limit. Okay, the next part is the introduction section. Now, introduction section is basically focusing on the most important part of the paper, and that is the novelty. What novelty are you bringing to your research paper? Okay, and for your ease of understanding, we have divided the introduction into 5 parts. Now, essentially, an introduction is 1,000 to 1,500 word essay. Okay, but then, like I said, you don't have to look at the word part. You just have to focus on these 5 points and write a bullet pointed introduction. Okay, it's very important that you write a bullet pointed introduction. Otherwise, it's very common for students to get overwhelmed at this point of time, right? So first is, what is the problem? What is the problem that you're facing? This is something that you write as a first point. Second problem is, how are people trying to solve this? So this is where you bring in references, and this is where you have to write references in a bullet pointed form, and this is where your literature study comes into play. Okay, so how are people trying to solve this? You have to mention references, pointed references in this part. The third point is, what are issues with the current approaches? So what is happening? What challenges is the current approach facing? This is also something that you have to mention along with the references as a bullet point, right? And then the fourth and the fifth point is your solution. What do you propose, and the large scale implications of your solution. Okay, so these 5 points essentially constitute an introduction. Like I said, it's very important to maintain the novelty of your research paper in the introduction. Okay, because a reviewer is going to decide if they are going to read your research paper by reading the introduction. Okay, it comes directly after abstract. So make sure at this point, when we are discussing the paper outline, you just have to write a bullet pointed introduction with the references. Okay, the next part of the paper outline is the figures. So the some of the papers that Dr. Raj has published, I showed you the papers, and these papers had a lot of figures in them. Okay, so it's important in your paper, when you are inserting figures, it's very important that one figure is connected to other figure, right? And some of the important things that you have to remember while inserting figures is that there are 6 points that you have to remember. You have to maintain high resolution of the figure. You have to maintain a legible x-axis, y-axis, and labels. The consistent font and color, choice of colors and fonts is something that is of paramount importance, because a different font or a different color can create visually it can create a very bad impression. Okay, so it's very important that you use consistent forms throughout your figures. Okay, it's important that your figures are labeled, they have correct labeling, they have a correct description, and the size and colors of markers is also consistent. Okay, so these 6 points you have to maintain. You have to make sure that you have obliged by these 6 points when you are inserting your figures, right? Now, we encourage students to draw figures in Canva or Adobe Illustrator, but it's important, it's also okay if you want to use the traditional Excel sheet or Microsoft PowerPoint also for inserting your figures. It's completely fine, but then make sure you are adhering to the 6 points that I mentioned before. Okay, this is just an example of how a beautiful figure looks like. Okay, so you can see the figure has a figure number, figure title, sub figure number, sub figure description. Okay, so A and B, they are the sub figure numbers, they have valid descriptions. You can see that the X and Y axis are labeled, and the font color and the font family is maintained. Okay, so this is a example of a very good figure. You can also insert figures in Overleaf software. If you're writing paper in Overleaf, you can also insert figures in Overleaf. Okay, the next part is the tables. Now, like the figures, the tables also have a visual effect on the reviewers. Okay, because if there is something that you can't use text to define, you have to use tables. Okay, so if there is something that a lot of text can't convey, it's very wise decision to use tables for that. Again, for tables, you have to maintain the consistency of the labeling, of the table number, of the description, and of the fonts. Okay, it's very important that your tables are clearly stating what you want to say. It's important to have those clear, concise, and crisp data for tables. Okay, it's very important that you do that, right? You can even insert tables in Overleaf. Like I said, figures and tables can be inserted in Overleaf if you are writing the research paper in Overleaf. Okay, the next part is adding the references part. Now, if you remember, I told in the introduction section that you have to keep adding references as and when you mention the problems with the existing solution and what was proposed earlier. Okay, so that is when you have to write your bullet pointed references at that point of time. And there is also a separate section in the research paper for writing your references. Okay, and that is where you have to add your references in detail. Now, references pertain to the literature study that you've done and what papers that you have used to what papers you've used to write your research paper. Okay, so it's important you write references in the references section, but this section can be developed later on also. Okay, so like I said, first, what does a paper outline consist of? It consists of title, abstract, introduction, tables, and figures. Okay, so this is a very important skeleton of your entire research paper. And like I said, it's very important to add the references in bullet pointed introduction section as well. Okay, and then you can later on convert it into the references section. So like I said, the paper outline consists of these 5 parts, and once you have these 5 parts sorted out, it's very easy to now develop this paper outline into a manuscript. Okay, into a paper manuscript, right? So after this, what your work is, you have to now expand the abstract, you have to expand the introduction, you have to insert the figures and tables in the correct way, and then you have to write an entire manuscript of the paper, right? So there is next section also, which is acknowledgements. This is a completely, a very easy section to write. And once you've done, literature study of, 80-70 papers, you get the hang of it, like how should I write acknowledgements. So this is just a sample acknowledgement that one of our students have written for Dr. Raj, Dr. Rajat, and Dr. Sridhar to express gratitude. So this is just an example of acknowledgements that I want to share with all of you. Right. Now, like I said, your first point is you have to part is also like an abstract. It's 200-word essay, and it's basically, it summarizes the entire paper and it gives key takeaways. Okay, so what are the key takeaways of your research paper? Mention those in the conclusions. Keep it very short, simple, and concise, brief, and clear. Okay, it's very important that you don't write stories or exceed the word limit on the conclusion side also. It's just important to mention key takeaways, okay, in the conclusion section. Like I said, now we are moving towards writing the entire manuscript. Okay, so now we are at that stage where we can expand our paper outline into the manuscript. Okay, now one more point I just want to add is the supplementary materials. Now if you are not able to add all of those references in your references section, and if you want to add something that you wanted to add but you couldn't, you should mention that in the supplementary materials. Okay, this is a snapshot of Dr. Sridhar's paper. Now he has written that the PDF file includes supplementary text, figures, S1 to S6, legends for move. So this is something that he wanted to mention. He didn't want to mention the entire paper, but then he wanted to mention the supplementary materials. Okay, this is also something you can do. You can mention figures, text, data, code, or anything else that you want under supplementary materials, right? So I'm just now going to take you through some of the writing style mistakes that students make while writing a research paper. Okay, so it's important that you know these mistakes so that you don't make them. Okay, the first is the passive and active voice. So it's very important that you use correct voice, okay, when you are writing your research paper. Now what does an active voice look like? Okay, the imaging was performed using SEM. And how does the passive voice sound like? We performed the imaging using SEM. Now when you look at the active voice, it's like you are yourself performing a particular experiment. We performed the imaging using SEM. That's the active voice, right? And the passive voice is the image was performed, the imaging was performed. So it gives an idea that you are an observer, you are observing something that is being done from a very far distance, and it doesn't really give an impression that you are yourself doing that experiment. Okay, so it's very important to maintain active style of writing instead of passive. And then the next is tenses. Okay, so past and present tense is also something that students confuse with. And as a common rule of thumb, you can use present tense for analysis and conclusions, and you can use past tense for experiments conducted. Okay, so if you ever get confused between past and present tense, you can use this as a rule of thumb, right? Now what I would suggest you do after you have written your manuscript and you want to play your own devil's advocate, criticize yourself. How do you do that? So how do you ensure that there are no mistakes in your paper? Okay, so what do you do first? You take a printout of the entire manuscript, you sit with a highlighter in your hand, and you read each line by line and see if there are any grammar mistakes, if there are any spelling mistakes, if you have made any tense mistakes, if there are any active or passive voice that needs to be changed. So sit with a highlighter in your hand and play your own devil's advocate. So that is something that will ensure that you have definitely not made these silly mistakes. Okay, these mistakes seem very silly when I'm telling about them, but students end up making these mistakes. And in today's world, when you have things like Grammarly plugin, it's a strict no to make grammar and vocabulary mistakes. All right, so this is something that I think you should do. The next part is identifying a journal for submission. Now that you have written your entire manuscript, it doesn't have any mistakes. Now how do you find the correct journal for submission? Okay, so how do you have to find your journal? So you look at the papers that have been submitted to which journal that are relevant to your particular topic of the paper that you have written. Okay, so any papers on the similar topic have been submitted to which journal? That is important. That is the first thing you should check. The second thing is the impact factor. Okay, so what is an impact factor? An impact factor is basically a giveaway of the number of citations. Okay, so the number of citations decide an impact factor. So impact factor less than 1 is considered low. Every journal has an impact factor. And for undergrad or undergraduate students, I think 1 to 3 impact factor is considered a good journal, and you can submit your papers to these journals. Okay, Another important point that you should consider when you are submitting your papers to any journal is the cost of publishing. Okay, so it's not free to submit to any journal, even if your paper gets accepted or rejected. That's not the point. But if you are submitting to a particular journal, there is a cost of submission. Okay, so it's the cost ranges from $2,000 to $12,000. So it's important that you make an Excel sheet, you write the journal names that you want to submit your papers to, and you make columns. Okay, in the first column write the impact factor, and in the second column write the cost of publishing. Okay, that is how you should decide how to select a journal. Okay, that is how you should decide which journal you should select, right? Now the next part is the scientific ML bootcamp that is live at Videsh, and how Videsh will help you to transition to the field of machine learning. Okay, so how can you transition to machine learning? Like I said, either you do impactful projects, not those toy projects like I showed, but then some impactful, some serious projects. The second part is publish and write your own research papers. So these are two ways in which you can add a very good machine learning experience to your profile, and that is how you can either transition to the field of machine learning, or you can get a very good job in the field of machine learning. Okay, so this scientific ML bootcamp is basically applicable to any fields. Now we have, like I said, a variety of people from different fields. So it's not just engineering background. Even if you are from finance or any other background, you still can add these projects and research papers to your profile. Okay, now this is just about the bootcamp curriculum. This is a snapshot of the bootcamp curriculum, what the curriculum is about. So as you can see, the first, second, third, fourth part is the basically how you can transition to ML, and then how scientific machine learning will help you do that, and then running ODEs in Julia, and then next part of this is doing research projects. Okay, so the this that you can see on the right hand side is something that will add a good research experience to your profile. Now we are helping students do a first research project as the COVID-19 infection prediction using SciML. The next project is the black hole dynamics using SciML. So these are projects that you will not find anywhere else. These projects will not be on anybody else's profile. Okay, these are not toy projects. These are very serious projects that you will do on your own. Okay, and next is converting these results into research. Now next part is writing a research paper. So like I said, like I explained, how you move from writing a paper outline to manuscript to submitting it to a journal. That is the point number 15. Okay, so the curriculum, like I said, consists of entire package from right from the theory part to the project and the research paper part. Okay, you can have a look at the website also. I'll just take you through the website. Now first of all, like I said, like I showed you the ML papers. So this is how the ML papers look like. I already showed you Dr. Raj's paper, so this was something that I already showed you. And having an ML publication, even if you are writing a paper and submitting it to any journal, and the next part is getting it published. So having a publication, ML publication in your profile is going to elevate your profile, right? Obviously. So these are some of the SciML research projects that we are working with our students on, and these are different plans that we have. Now let me take you to the website. Okay, so this is the Videsh website where we have launched our scientific ML bootcamp. Now these are the projects that we have mentioned here that you can add to your CV also. Okay, so these are 4 plans that are available. The first plan is the SciML bootcamp researcher plan. So this plan basically focuses on writing a research paper in addition to the projects. Okay, so the program curriculum that I just showed you right now, this was for the researcher plan. So in this, you will perform 2 hands-on projects using scientific ML. First of all, you will understand the basics of Julia programming. You will understand what is ML, and then you will perform 2 projects. After that, you will convert that into research papers. So essentially, this program consists of writing and publishing publishing a first author research paper using your domain knowledge and the field of machine learning. Okay. Now the next plan is the SciML Bootcamp student plan. Okay, so this plan basically is a self-paced plan, and basically it consists of, you know, all the basics that I just showed from the researcher plan and the project part. Okay, so this does not have the writing the research paper part. So for those who just want to add project experience into their profile and who are just okay with mentioning two hands-on projects in ML in their profile, then this program is for you. Now, something about the community plan. So community plan is basically an extension to the student plan. It's just that in the student plan you will not get any kind of, you know, guidance from our mentors, and for all these plans our mentors will be our co-founders. Okay, so you will interact with the co-founders in an asynchronous way of communication. You will, if you have any doubts, you will send out emails to them, and they will also respond to you within 24 to 48 hours by preparing videos and sending it out to you. So this is how the mode of communication will be to reduce waste of time. Okay, so this is the community plan where you will get, you know, access to bootcamp community on Discord, and you will also you know, get that kind of, you know, assignment checking, doubt clearance from the mentors themselves. So this is an extension of the student plan. And the next plan is the industry professional plan. Okay, so this is basically for the working you know, professionals that are in this group. This is for you. If you have you know, a good working experience, we are going to select topics for writing a research paper in such a way that these topics are pertaining to the industry. Okay, so these are not just any research topics. We will select topics in such a way that are relevant, and that the problems are very relevant in the industry, in the corporate industry also. Okay, so this program is specially for people who are working. Okay, working professionals. Now you can go to the website and you can check out all these plans in detail, but this was just an overview that I just showed you of these plans. All right, these are some of the testimonials that I just want to show you, that many of our you know, students that have written papers in field of machine learning have got exemplary admits from universities, and some of working professionals also have got very good job opportunities. Okay, so this is these are testimonials written by some of our students, right? And then, like I said, we will help you with the following. We will first of all help you with implementing domain specific real life hands-on projects. That is the first thing. And then we will also help you to convert ML projects into research publications. Okay, and that you can of course add to your CV or your profile. This is just a glimpse of how life at MIT looks like. This is a snapshot that of all the photos clicked when Dr. Sridhar was at MIT. Now, this is just, you know, meant to be a source of inspiration for you. When you actually go to MIT, you get to interact with a lot of people from different backgrounds, different diversities, and it's a very, very rich cultural diversified experience, and you get to learn a lot of things as well, right? So if you are interested in the scientific ML bootcamp, please send an email out to us at hello@flyvidesh.com. Please mention to add, you know, your resume, and mention your name, details of your work. When you're planning to apply for grad school, if you are working, please attach your resume, and then why you are interested in the SciML bootcamp. Okay, so you know, we are coming to the end of this webinar, and I think there are, you know, 4 minutes or so, and if Dr. Raj is there on the call, and if you want to take any questions, you can please go ahead. I'll stop sharing my screen. Yeah, Dr. Rajat. Yeah.
We'll take one question, and then Dr. Rajat can take another questions. First of all, thanks Radhika for the great presentation. There is one common question on the chat regarding building a research profile. And I want to emphasize this once more, that I've seen many students, what they do is when they transition to machine learning, they get a Kaggle repository, or they get a repository from GitHub. You can clone that repository, and you can make some small changes, and you can write that project on your resume. But that is not a very good approach. Why? Because many other students will do the same thing. So that won't distinguish you from other students when, let's say, you're applying for a job or you are applying for grad school. But the only way you can distinguish yourself from others is working on research projects. So there can be three categories, right? Either you are still in college, where academic community is still there. There you can network with professors and start working on a research project. If you're out of the college community right now, it might be hard to get into that research background. So still what you can do is you can email professors, start online projects with them, or you can join these boot camps such as the one which we are offering. So stay connected with research because that will give you a lot of value throughout your career. It's also a very hard thing to do because having a research publication is not easy. It's way harder than just doing a GitHub or a Kaggle project, but that's why it has so much value. Yeah, Dr. Rajat, if you want to answer any other questions.
There is a common question in the chat regarding CA students and which bootcamp is ideal for them. So broadly speaking, there are two research bootcamps that we have. One is SciML and second is Generative AI. SciML bootcamp is more focused on applying machine learning to domain-specific knowledge, whereas Generative AI bootcamp does not include any domain specificity as such, but we are working with large language models and doing research in the domain of LLMs. So we have CA students also in the SciML bootcamp, but in case you are not interested to work on domain-specific problems which involve differential equations, let's say, then Gen AI bootcamp can be ideal for you. It can be the stepping stone for you to transition to machine learning and to write your first research paper in the field. So if you are thinking about transitioning to ML, then broadly speaking, first think about this distinction that whether you want to go into, let's say, a core domain, you want to preserve a core domain, let's say mechanical, electrical, etc., and apply ML on top of that, or you want to completely transition to, let's say, generative AI applications, and you want to uh, uh, build LLMs in the future. If that is the goal, which is more application focused, then generative AI bootcamp is best for you. Otherwise, SciML bootcamp will be ideal. So just keep this distinction in mind. Okay, I think we are almost reached 8 p.m. So yeah, first of all, thanks Radhika for such a wonderful webinar. I think everyone learned a lot today. For students who want to transition to ML, anyone interested and you have a specific goal in mind, just drop us an email at hello@flyvidage.com and try to be very specific in that email. Don't just write a one-liner. We get a lot of one-liners every day and we don't respond to them. So the more specific you are, the better will our responses also be, and we'll immediately onboard you onto the programs. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, and all the best in your journey to transition to ML.
All the
Bye.
best. Bye.